Welcome to the Epic Vision Zone. I'm super excited to introduce today's guest. She is the former head of advertising and consumer research from NASA at the Kennedy Space Center, where she implemented their first ever direct response TV campaign, helping to make KSC one of the top 5 most visited tourist attractions in Florida. Delivering high-impact, low-cost marketing ideas that wow buyers, she has worked with industry leaders, including the Ritz-Carlton, Wyeth Pharmaceuticals, and ABC TV. In 2003, she switched from marketing executive to entrepreneur, becoming the CEO and founder of Boss Women Rock. I love that name. An organization with clients and members around the world. It helps women in business make their first or next 100K. She is also the editor-in-chief of Boss Women Rock magazine and host of the iTunes podcast, which features entrepreneurial guests such as Laurel Langmeyer from The Secret, a certified platinum business coach globally recognized for her fluff-free results-oriented approach. She is a sought-after professional speaker on the topic of marketing as well as women in leadership. In 2019, she was awarded Innovator of the Year for excellence in business coaching. Her clients call her the Queen of Monetization. She is a media contributor, frequently appearing on TV and radio, including PBS, Huffington Post, NBC, ABC, Fox, and CBS. And I just wanted to mention her books here, Boss Women Rock, How to Go from Best Kept Secret to Sought After Expert, is now available on Amazon. And she is also the co-author of One Habit for Success, recently reaching the Amazon bestseller list in the leadership category. And welcome, Jen. Oh my gosh, what an amazing resume you have.
I feel tired just listening to it.
Yes, isn't it amazing how when someone else tells you all the things you've done, you're like, wow, I've done a lot.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of work.
Anyway, but welcome to the show, and so excited to have you on with your knowledge and your experience. I can't wait to get started. So of course, my very first question, you've obviously had a very, very successful career. And how did the idea for your business come about? And what was your biggest and greatest fear jumping from corporate to entrepreneur?
So when I left Kennedy Space Center and ABC TV and Wyeth Pharma, I left because I had really hit the proverbial glass ceiling at a really young age in my life. You know, working for NASA was one of the biggest and best blessings ever that anybody could experience. It was my, if I can make it here, I can make it anywhere job. But the reality was that the pay was terrible because it's the government, right? And I was working a lot, many, many hours, very long days. And this was back in the early 2000s when we were actually launching space shuttles. And I'm so glad that we're now, I don't know if you're space geeks out there that are listening, but we're now back launching rockets from Kennedy Space Center. But when I was there, we were launching space shuttles. So the hours, it was like all the attention was on Kennedy a lot, and the hours were just brutal. So I quit because I really just wanted more time freedom in my life and to not have a capped income potential. I wanted to be able to be in control of how much money I make and who I work with, where, when, and just complete freedom. The big fear, to answer your question, was failure. And fear of failure has always been a great motivator for me because one of my space heroes, Gene Kranz, has a book and there's a movie out called Failure is Not an Option, right? So I was kind of coming up in corporate America with all these people that are high achievers doing impossible things. And so for me, failure was and still remains to this day my biggest fear in becoming an entrepreneur.
Wow. Yes, I know that's a biggie. And I love one of my speakers. She says, fear is fertilizer. It just goes in the ground and helps us grow.
Yeah.
I've completely switched my attitude towards fear. I'm like, well, it's just fertilizer.
Yeah. And that is it, right? It's how do I take this fear and not let it hold me back or,
Yeah.
prevent me from moving forward, but how do I harness it and use it to propel me? Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can certainly understand your motivation for moving forward. So a question then, when you were starting out, what were the most difficult aspects of being your own boss?
The most difficult aspects for me, well, kind of then and now, is that I'm a little bit of a control freak. And so it's hard for me to let things go. And one of my very first, before I have this is my fourth business model. The first business I had when I left Kennedy Space Center was as a professional photographer, which not that many people know. And because I did the transition that a lot of business owners do when they decide they're going to become an entrepreneur, I turned my hobby into a business. And photography was my hobby that I was doing in my spare time, which was limited, but I, had to have a hobby, right? So I became a professional photographer and had a photography studio down in Jacksonville, Florida at the beach. And I was doing a lot of family photo shoots and weddings on the beach and all that. And it was very fun and very lucrative. I actually ran that business for 7 years, but then I burnt out and I said, you know what? I don't want to work nights and weekends. I had basically created a job for myself that had the same time demands that my job at Kennedy had. Mm-hmm. And I said, I woke up one day and I said, what am I doing? Like the very last wedding that I ever shot was on New Year's Eve. And I'm like, here I am working holidays and weekends and all, just all the time. And I just needed to not do that anymore. So I went back to marketing because those are the only two things I know how to do really well professionally, is take pictures or do marketing. So I started a marketing consulting firm. I had a little office at the beach, and and that was working great to a point again. But then I got really sick. And when I got sick, I ended up losing my office because I hadn't built enough systems into my marketing consulting firm to where it could run without me, or it could run without me being the bottleneck. So I wasn't applying the ideas that I knew from going to business school or working for big brands. I wasn't applying them as an entrepreneur, because of my control freak status and because, I'm like, oh, well, no one's going to be able to do it as well as I can, or I don't have time to create a system for it and all that. And when I lost everything, that was very humbling and put me into a point where I said, you know what, I've got to learn how to create systems. I've got to learn how to apply the big brand marketing strategies as an entrepreneur so that I don't become the bottleneck in my business anymore. Right.
Well, that's really interesting because, like you said, I mean, you can view it as failure, but not really. You're growing because it taught you the lesson that you really need to, you have to, if you want to continue to be your own boss, you have to apply those strategies in order to continue growing and have a business that, it doesn't fall apart if certain things happen. Yeah.
Jane, I say sometimes, I'm like, you know what, while that was one of the worst things that ever happened to me, at the same time, it was one of the very best because it forced me to really get serious about scalability, and not just in my operations, but in my marketing as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad it happened for you. What can I say? Well, tell us, and I'm sure we're going to unpack a lot more of that as we go along here, because I am just fascinated by your resume and your qualifications. But for right now, tell us how you came up with your company name. I love it. Boss Women Rock, and what it offers for women.
So after I got over my health issue, this was like a 2-year process. After I got over my health issue and I woke up and I said, I need to create a scalable business. I did. And I actually created a marketing agency, like a full service, full on ad agency, basically. And I had 2 business partners. We had this huge office and employees on both coasts. We had employees in California and employees in Florida. Wow. Yeah. And that business was very successful. It became a 7-figure earning business within the first 3 years. And because that business was successful, I started to get asked to speak at women's conferences in particular, or women's leadership conferences or women's chamber of commerce events and things like that. And I started to have deeper conversations with women in business in particular about their struggles over growing a business. But the other thing, this is not a popular opinion, but I'm kind of known for my non-popular opinions. One of the other things that I noticed about the women's conferences in particular was that the topics tended to dance around everything except for profitability. You've probably seen this too, because I know you speak about profitability as well, right? So everybody was like dancing around the subject or talking about things like, you know, brand design or photography. I even went to one where they were talking about how to organize a closet. And I was like, I'm sitting there as a speaker waiting for my next turn, kind of, you know, waiting for my turn to take the stage, and I'm watching speaker after speaker and watching everybody with the content struggle. And I was like, I don't think, you know, regular business conferences that aren't specific to women are not sitting around talking about closet organization. This is not a topic that men have at a boardroom table, right? So why are we doing this? And so I saw that there was a need for, in the women's business market in particular, and at the women's business conferences in particular, to just have real honest conversations about what it really means to be successful and what it really means to run a scalable, profitable business. So I had all this, you know, I had my business experience, I had my big fancy business degree, and then I also had all the lessons that I had learned as an entrepreneur, plus just seeing and hearing the real life struggles in the women's business market. It was like a light bulb one day for me. I said, I'm going to create a platform where women in business are talking about money, and that we're measuring the success of our business based on profitability and scalability, and actually like how much money we make. I come from the point of view that the purpose of a business is to make profit. Because if your business does not make money, if your business does not make profit, you cannot fulfill what I call the softer missions, like living out your purpose, having freedom in your life, employing other people. Profitability is what is the big domino that makes all of those other things possible for you and me, right? Mm-hmm. So that was what really inspired it. And I said, okay, I'm going to call it Boss Women Rock, and we're going to be serious about taking action and getting results in our business, and really like how to make money. That's how it all came to be.
Right. I love it, because that is a big issue with women talking about money. Now, I'm not saying every woman, but you're absolutely right. You know, the money part is like, well, I have these services, and then we underprice ourselves as well. We undervalue our worth. And it's interesting. I heard someone say, you attract as much money as you think you deserve.
Right.
And that was a really interesting way to put it, because we always, I think a lot of, especially entrepreneurs, because obviously we want to start monetizing, but we're afraid to monetize a higher price, because we'll say, oh no, we're going to scare everybody away. But no, you're going to scare away the people who don't want to make that investment. It doesn't mean that's everybody. But yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah. So your inspiration was really about getting women to own the fact that if you're going to have a business, there has to be profit.
I would hear,
unless it's a nonprofit.
Well, I mean, even a nonprofit needs to make money, or you can't fulfill your mission. It doesn't mean that you're not profitable. It just means you're a nonprofit. But like, you know, women would come up to me and they'd say, you know, I'm just really struggling with making money in my business because I love what I do so much. I'm willing to do it for free. And then they were, you know, especially coaches or service professionals. They're like, well, I'm just starting, so I need to get this experience, and I'm just giving it away for free, which is true to a point, right? That might be true to a point where as you're getting experience, but eventually, sooner rather than later, you've got to figure out how do you create your offers, and how do you create your marketing, and how do you attract the right people to you that are willing to pay your prices so that you can deliver on your promise to them. When you undercut yourself, when you undervalue yourself, when you're not pricing for profitability, when you're giving away the farm, it doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't serve you, it doesn't serve your family, and it definitely doesn't serve your clients.
Exactly. Yes, it goes full circle.
Right.
Well, then my next question for you, because you did have the platform Boss Women Rock, you then created the Boss Women Rock magazine. I believe it came after, right?
Yeah. Oh, this is a really fun story.
So yeah, go for it, because I was like, wow, it's not enough that she has the platform. She has to make a magazine too.
Yeah. So, I'm a marketer. I always have been, I always will be. And I can't help myself but look at what other people are doing that are more successful than I am for marketing. And there was a series of events that inspired me to launch the magazine. But one in particular, I was at a conference for my mentor. His name's Dan Kennedy. He's one of the godfathers of direct response marketing. I'm at one of his conferences, and there was a gentleman in the room who's very rich and famous in Italy. He's like the Dan Kennedy of Italy. His name's Frank Miranda. And he was talking about how important it was for him he had his own magazine with his face on the cover of it. And it was, one of his top marketing tools. And this guy sells out. He's like, kind of like famous, like Grant Cardone or so, like thousands of people come to his events. And he was talking, and he had books and he had shows and he had all these stages and he had all these things, but he said his magazine was one of the most powerful marketing tools that he had. And then, maybe a couple of months later, I'm walking around the bookstore and, because I'm a big reader, I like real books, not just Kindle books, but like real life physical books.
Oh yeah. I'm
walking
with
around
you
the
there.
bookstore. Yeah, tangible. I'm walking around the bookstore and I'm in the magazine section, and out of the corner of my eye, I glance over and I see Oprah's magazine. And then I notice Martha Stewart's magazine and Joel Osteen's magazine. And and it was like these little synapses were firing in my brain. So I bought all the magazines. I didn't know what I was going to do with these magazines yet, but I bought the magazines and brought them home. And then I was just kind of marinating on it. And I still have, from my Kennedy Space Center days, I still have a marketing portfolio of most of the items that I created for them that were print. I managed all the paid advertising, but I have all my print ads and things that I created.
Oh, okay.
And one of the things that I had created way back then was a magazine called The Orbiter for Kennedy Space Center. So I'm thinking, I've got Frank in my head, I've got Oprah in my head, and I've got this example of this magazine that I used to publish at Kennedy Space Center. And I said, oh, that's what I'm going to do. Because nobody was making magazines when I had this idea. Everyone was publishing books. Everyone was scrambling to get on shows or get on stages, but no one really had a magazine that could generate business for them. And so I started thinking about, okay, well, if I was going to create a magazine, what I don't want it to do is just be like a fancy brochure. I really need it to help me get on stages, open doors, get referrals, generate leads. How can I do this? So I took it one step further and I turned it into what I call the magazine funnel. And Joe Paradilia from Forbes Book has dubbed me the mother of the magazine funnel, because I'm the first one to think of this, not just having a magazine, but how do you use the magazine to actually drive leads and to build your email list and to help you book business. And so I created a little process for that. And I did it just for myself, really, Jane, at the beginning, just like I said, to help me grow my business faster and help me get on stages and help me land clients and build my email list. And one day I was in I'm a direct response marketer, meaning everything I do has to have a measurable result. So I'm looking inside my Active Campaign, my email marketing system that has all my lead magnets set up. And I use ClickFunnels for my landing pages and everything, but I use Active Campaign for my email list. And I'm looking inside and I'm looking at the results of all the 20 lead magnets that I had created that year. And the magazine blew everything away by a mile. It was 10 or 20 times the results of everything else, including, how we've all done like the checklists and the PDFs and all that. It just blew it away. And so I decided to just double down and just really focus on making the magazine super high quality. I use amazing photographers for you can see it behind me. I know this is a podcast, but we're recording on video. So like I have my magazine behind me. I use celebrity photographers to shoot the covers. I interview amazing experts and put them inside the magazine. It's not just a bunch of thrown together extra content. There's really intention in it. I get my corporate sponsors to provide ad space in it, and it really helps me solve a lot of marketing problems all at one time. And because it worked so well for me, my clients started asking me about them.
That was my next question. I was like, do you teach this?
Yeah, I do. And they were like, well, can you help me with my magazine? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I, of course, built a team, and I have a system and a process worked out where we build a year's worth of social media graphics, social media posts. We make over all the social media sites. We make over your website to have the opt-in on or a landing page for the magazine. We even write the email drips that follow up. We set up your email marketing system. And we make sure that the whole process all works together so that it can help you achieve your goals.
Right. Because the messaging in the magazine sort of blends with your messaging, correct or not? Or?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So if I'm, and we do them printed and we do them online.
Oh,
so
you do them printed. Okay. Because I did see the online one.
Yeah. So we do them printed. So if I'm doing it printed, like I will print it and then send it to event organizers whose stage I want to get on, or I'll print it and send it to prospect clients that I'm trying to land, or I put it in my wow box, which is one of my secret sales tools. So we do it. You could print them and send them to your referral partners who you're trying to stay top of mind with.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine if your number one referral partner, you're sending them a magazine every quarter with your picture on the front of it, positioning you as an authority, positioning you as an expert. Who are they more likely to give a referral to, you or your competition? You.
Right. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. So you do it quarterly then?
I do mine quarterly. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It is, because do you do all the writing, or do you have other writers?
I have a whole team of people. So I have editors, I have writers, I have a designer, I have a graphic designer, I have a website developer, because it's not just the content. But when I'm doing them for client work, what we do is we take our clients' raw content.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like people don't have a lack of content in their marketing. Like they've probably written a bunch of blog posts that are sitting around, or lead magnets that hasn't seen the light of day yet, or, there's always a lot of different content sitting around, and we take it and we package it up in a more appealing way. But the most important thing is thinking through the sales process and what is the magazine going to do for you, and what's your marketing strategy with it.
Right. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I asked the question. I was like, wow, that's fantastic. Cool. So just out of curiosity, is that a separate course that you could take for the magazine?
It's not a course. So I offer it as a done for you solution. I call it Instant Media Mogul. You can learn about it at instantmediamogul.com. But when we do it, it's just a done for you solution.
Okay.
Because there are so many moving parts, courses work well for things like how to learn Facebook ads, or launch a podcast, or something like that's pretty straightforward. But a course for a magazine funnel, to do it right, and for me to know that you're going to get the right result, I'd rather just build it for clients. And so that's what I do. I do have videos that are free on my YouTube channel, where I break down how to use a magazine, what sales and marketing ideas it can solve for you. So you can check, I think there's like 6 videos on how to use a magazine. But it's a little bit more difficult for me to teach how to build the whole process, because it really takes a team of people to build it.
Right.
And most people they just don't want to bother. They just say, Jen, just do it for me.
No, I mean, that's fantastic too. So you just have the whole program and ready to go, and package it and get the client what they need. So I love that. Yeah, I did check out the online version. It looks really great. I mean, I couldn't get caught up reading the articles because I was going to be interviewed. Yeah. But I was checking. So I've signed up for the free one.
You're in my drip campaign. Yes.
Yeah, really. So I guess I mean, I'm realizing now, I mean, you have gained the title of Queen of Monetization, which I think is fabulous. And it sounds like every entrepreneur's best friend. Like, we need to know that queen for sure. So how did you get that prize title? And are there any tips? I mean, I know you shared the magazine and how you can actually use that as a funnel.
Right.
But what tips a few tips that you can give us to help us, get started?
So everything that I do, all of my marketing, everything I teach, preach, and practice follows what I call my rising influencer profit process. And there are 5 steps to it. These are just business truths that work no matter what type of business you have or what industry you're in. And number 1 is that you need to know how to generate leads. And most people think that generating leads is tied to a particular platform. Like I need to be famous on YouTube, or I need to have a LinkedIn profile that's active, or I need to be on Instagram, or now TikTok, or whatever. And they think that it's tied to media. And the truth is that generating leads is mostly tied to your positioning and what you're saying is the promise in your business. So like Domino's Pizza is the best example I can give of this that everybody can relate to. Domino's Pizza built $1 billion pizza empire on one phrase: fresh hot pizza delivered to your door in 30 minutes or less, or it's free, guaranteed, right? So that's their promise, their market dominating position statement that helps them make the phone ring.
Mm-hmm.
They take that message and they put it out on TV commercials or radio commercials or print ads or social media or whatever the platform is, but they have clearly identified what the unique promise is that they can deliver to their customers. So that's step one. What is your lead generation strategy? What are the words that you're using? And then how are you going to get that message in front of the right people at the right time on the right place in a way that makes them want to take action? The second thing is conversions. So realizing that not everyone that sees your marketing the very first time you put it in front of them is going to be what we call a now buyer. They're not going to just pick up the phone and call you when you put your ad or your post or your whatever in front of them. They need to be nurtured along the buying process. I've had people on my list for 5 years before they bought anything from me. I've also had people on my list for 5 months. I've had people on my list for 5 minutes before they buy anything, right? So, but it's my responsibility to meet them where they are and match my marketing to where they are in the journey so that I can convert them through time. Those are the two big ones. How do I generate leads, Jen? And how do I convert and close business? So those are the first two. The other three are number of transactions, like your business model. So sometimes the model is broken. What we were talking about at the top of the show about not pricing for profitability.
Right.
Sometimes my clients just have the wrong dang business model. I'm working with a client right now. They run a staffing company for retailers, like brick and mortar retailers.
Right.
And they do staffing for pop-ups, like kiosks and things in the mall. And we've just revamped their entire business model to take them from a $700,000 business to like a $3 million business, just by looking at what is the offer that they provide and how they're getting paid. Right? Like, is it a one-time payment or is it a payment over time? Like the number of transactions. We also look at the pricing model and we say, okay, well, are you even priced for profitability? I have this really cool, powerful profit acceleration software program that I use where that I can run numbers for my clients and predict with accuracy what financial impact each marketing strategy will have on their business so that we can figure out, okay, what price do you need to be at before you start selling?
Right.
And then we make decisions based on the numbers and we make decisions based on the model, the financial model, before we start doing any of the marketing. And then finally, the fifth thing is profitability, which is systemization, which is turning everything into a system. So like my magazine funnels, it is a process. It's just done. It doesn't get changed, right? So that helps me remain profitable because I have a system that I'm following. I have a team that have been trained once to do, to help implement my client funnels. And I'm not just like running around doing random marketing for clients that are completely customized or completely different every single time. It's everybody's marketing follows the process. That helps me remain more profitable. So that's what I do. And then, so my clients gave me the title Queen of Monetization because I was helping them see the new potential in their business.
Right.
Saying, you're this really awesome, great person, like a coach or speaker or service provider. You're this really amazing person. But we're not communicating what's different about you. What is the real true promise? What is the real true value? And I help them uncover that.
Right.
And if they don't have it, we create it for them. And we say, okay, well, this is going to be the deliverable. This is going to be the promise. This is going to be actually what it is that you do and how you price it and how you package it and how you sell it.
Right. The what sets you apart. Yeah.
And a lot of people will say, if they don't know, or if they've never worked with a professional, like me to help them figure that out, they'll say, well, I've got 20 years of experience, or I went to this school, or, it's just me. It's because it's me. And I'm like, your clients don't really care about that. Your clients care about what's in it for them. What is the big idea? What's the big promise?
What's their takeaway?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So like mine is my big market dominating position statement is that I can find any business owner $100,000 in hidden revenue potential, and I can do it in 45 minutes or less, guaranteed. I've done it hundreds of times, and I can make that promise because I have a system and a software program that allows me to do it consistently, right? So that's my promise. That's the big idea that I use, the message that I use to generate leads. It helps me get booked on shows. It gets me on stages. It gets people coming to my website and checking me out and looking to see who I am and then getting on my calendar. Like, so that's the big promise. And that's what I do with my clients is figure out how do we make you more valuable?
Exactly. Yes. Well, I could see that. I mean, you've really got it down. I mean, and it's incredible that you use these. I'm assuming they're computer programs, correct?
Yeah.
Computer
Software
programs. So software. Yeah. So that's because most people, especially entrepreneurs starting out, they don't look at that picture. And sometimes it's because affordability, but this is wonderful insight and information because it gives you the light at the end of the tunnel, or you could have been in your process already and you're really not getting anywhere and you're wondering why. But you see, these are, like you said, the strategies, the tactics, the systems that you have to put in place. But first of all and foremost, it's, finding out what makes you unique and why people are going to buy that outcome.
Yeah. And you have to be able to deliver on it, just like Domino's Pizza. They can't just say, right, oh, the pizza will be there in 30 minutes or less. They actually have to be able to do it. And so all of the operations in their business needs to be built around delivering that promise.
Absolutely. Well, I think in answering that question, you may have answered something that is on your site, which I love. And I think you even mentioned it. You said, match your marketing to the way people buy, which is what you were referring to. And you say that that's the $1 million question that we all need to explore if we want to create marketing that launches sales and growth revenue.
Right.
And so those are the sort of the 5 steps that you unpacked for us, because you need to match it for what people want to buy. In fact, that's a big mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs do is they'll spend hours, weeks, days, months, even years perfecting a program. And then it's not what people want. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if you've ever heard those stories, but I have.
Yeah. And, to begin, if this sounds overwhelming, I just want to give you one question as a piece of homework, if you're listening to the show, to begin to unpack. And that is, what is the big problem that your clients have that keeps them up at night?
Okay.
So picture them, they're laying in bed and they've got their head on the pillow. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Their eyes jolt awake and they're staring at the clock, or they're staring at their Instagram on their phone, if they're like me. They're staring at their phone and they're going, what is that conversation that's taking place? So I work with a lot of coaches. So
I like that.
Business coaches and marketers and, life coaches, relationship coaches, all kinds of coaches, speakers and experts, and wealth managers, financial planners, different people like that. So it's like, so what is the problem that your client has that's keeping them up at night? And here's the other secret weapon. You'll need to know how to express that problem back to them in their own words. This is the part that a lot of people miss. So they'll say, well, if they're a relationship coach, well, they're worried that their spouse is cheating on them and they might be about to get a divorce or something like that, right? Well, what does that really feel like for them? What are the emotions behind it? What is the fear? When you can tap into the emotions behind a problem that you solve, your marketing can become that much more powerful.
I love that. I love that. Tap into the emotions. Tap into the emotions. Yeah.
Tap into the emotions, tap into the problem, and tap into the words that they use to describe it. Because sometimes experts, service-based professionals, myself included, I'm guilty of this sometimes, will use the language that we know, like profit acceleration software, or, revenue, profitability, and really, like, at the end of the day, my clients just want the phone to ring. That's how they describe the problem.
Okay.
They'll be sitting in bed going, how am I going to get the phone to ring tomorrow? What am I going to do? Why is this website not working? I just spent 10 grand on a website and this guy said that this was an amazing website, but the phone isn't ringing. No one's contacting me. And that's the language that they use. So if you don't know what the language is that your people that you can help, the people that you can serve, ask them. I would challenge you to do 5 interviews with your potential clients, with your prospective clients, the people that you can make the biggest impact on the world, and just ask them, and then write it down. Write down every single word that they use to describe it. Write down the emotions. And that's the simplest way. I've had people all the time, like in my Facebook group and stuff, ask, well, what should I use for, I want to send out a survey to my patients. What should I use about it? I'm like, ask people. When I worked at Kennedy Space Center, I had an on-site research team, 3 people there every day of the year, other than like big holidays like Christmas, every day of the year doing in-person interviews with the people that came through the gate to find out what brought you here, where'd you come from, what's so inspiring about the space program to you, why'd you drag your kids here versus going to Disney World, right? And there was nothing better than me getting the feedback from how they described it with their own words, not just fill out this survey, because you're not going to hear the emotion. You're not going to hear the tonality. You're not going to hear the hunger. You're not going to hear.
What you're saying is pick up the phone and speak with them. Don't send them an email.
No. So
Okay.
I told one of my master members recently.
Because when you say ask them, people are going, okay, I'll send an email. But no, that's what you want. You want to feel their emotions. You want to hear what they're saying. Okay.
Yeah, you want to have real life conversations. Even if you just do 5, it's really going to change your marketing. It's going to change the way that you think about what you're talking about on social media. It will change everything about, if you're doing Facebook Lives, like what you're going to talk about there, how you're going to express yourself. And then what you want to do is just mirror it back to them. Make them feel like, and not just pretend, but really you do need to be able to feel it. You need to be able to feel their problem. You need to be able to feel the emotion that they have tied to it, because that's what's going to make you, good at what you do. That's what's going to help you get a great result for them. And that's what's going to help you build your reputation and brand through time, because you understand your clients better than anyone else. You know what makes them tick better than any other marketer in your category. And that is going to be what propels your business forward.
I love that. That is such great advice, Jen. So you've got those 2 points that are absolutely fabulous. The first one, like you said, was what keeps your clients up at night? Just put yourself in their shoes and imagine what it is that they're thinking, what wakes them up in the middle of the night, or what has them, worried or whatever. And then the second one is pick up the phone and talk to a handful and get to know and feel and hear what they're experiencing because of whatever it is that they're lacking. I don't know if you're selling a product or if you're selling a service, whatever, but oh my gosh. And those are simple steps that everybody could do.
Yeah. And this is what big brands do. We would have focus groups. We would have on-site research team. We'd be literally getting in front of people and having conversations. And business owners, I feel like, sometimes we're like hide behind the computer too much and we don't want to have these real life conversations. So have a focus group at your place of business, invite your patients in, invite your clients in. Let's just talk about the problem without selling a solution, without giving an answer to the problem. Just listen. It's like a listening session, right?
Right. Yeah.
So do that, or pick up the phone. If you can't have meetings right now because of COVID, pick up the phone, send people a $5 or $10 Starbucks gift card online, invite them to have coffee with you virtually on Zoom, and have a Zoom coffee chat where you're just asking questions.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. I'm in.
It will change.
Tell me when you're going to do your next coffee thing.
So for me, it really, I started, I feel so fortunate being a speaker because I launched my, the Boss Woman Rock brand, and I had male clients too. Some of my top clients are male-owned businesses. It's not that I don't work with men, but in particular, I launched the Boss Woman Rock brand because I was at events and I was in front of people, and they would come up to me at the end of my presentation and they would tell me about their problems. They would just start spilling their guts to me. I wasn't even doing it on purpose at first. I was just at an event to share my ideas, and then they were telling me, and I was like, oh, that's how they're really describing that. Or, what I should do is create a program that will do this, that will solve that problem for them.
Right. Yeah. Well,
kind of like hack the system,
Yeah, no, it was great. It was the ideal place to be in order to experience that shift. Because you said that women, you didn't realize that they needed a lot more
Right. I would have never known unless I would have gotten in front of them.
Exactly.
If I would have tried to build my business sitting behind my computer on Facebook all day long, I would have had no idea what was really going on in their mind.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad you went. What can I say? So you mentioned creating memorable offline and online experiences for buyers. Now, I don't know if you touched on that, but what exactly do you mean by online and offline experiences? And maybe just give us some examples.
Okay. So, a lot of service-based businesses in particular and even some products are really, I feel like, hiding behind the computer too much. So we're trying to do everything with digital marketing or everything with online marketing. And that was the other reason why I created a magazine, and I print it. It's physical, and I mail it to my clients. The other thing that I do is, so you can download the magazine online from bosswomenrockmagazine.com, like Jane did. You can download the magazine, but then I also, because I have a print version, I can send the print version to my strategic partners. I can send it to my prospects who are further in the buyer's journey with me. I will send it to them. The other really cool sales strategy that I have is this a thing called a wow box. And I create these really beautiful boxes. They're custom branded for me and everything. And inside the box is a copy of my book, a copy of my magazine, a welcome letter, a thank you card, whatever I feel like I need to put in there. And I mail it to my clients. I mail it to my mastermind members. I mail it to my top prospects. I mail it to event organizers whose stages I want to speak on. And when they get it, think about it. It's like Amazon comes, and you get your package and you already know what's in the box because you bought the thing on Amazon. But what if someone, your coach, your agency person, your marketer, sends you this box full of like amazingly beautiful, helpful items that are going to help you grow your business, because that's what you're in contact with me about. They open it up and they go, wow. Like that's always the first word out of their mouth is, wow, Jen, thank you so much for sending me that. That was beautiful. One of my clients, Frank, he's in my mastermind. I sent him his wow box, and it arrived over the weekend, and he sent me a text on Saturday, and he was like, wow, Jen, thank you so much for sending that. That was so special. So marketing isn't always about generating new leads. Sometimes marketing is about just really taking care of the people that you're already doing business with. Right? And so I'm constantly thinking, how can I wow my buyers with my marketing? If I'm not saying wow over my marketing, if I'm not getting booked on podcasts because I have a magazine, if I'm not getting asked to be on stage because my marketing is excellent, what makes you think that my clients are going to think it's amazing? Right. So we've got to be so in love with marketing and be having so much fun with our marketing that it attracts attention. That's what attraction marketing is about, is providing so much value, so much entertainment, so much fun and excitement with your marketing that people are just naturally attracted to you and they want to do business with you.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
In my previous life, I used to be in the brokerage business, the stock brokerage business. And and this was back in the day when we didn't even have cell phones. So, telephone was and meetings were your best way of communication, but we often did things like that. But what it does today in particular, because most of what you say is people hide behind their computer. So that's the online. So the offline is these gift ideas, even a card, because what it is, it's unexpected, especially in today's world. I mean, when was the last time anybody got a wow box or even a card of thank you, an actual card in the mail? And what it does too is it can provide you with referrals. Because that's huge. And referral business is always the best business. But when you start to treat your clients or your prospects even with that kind of out of the box thinking, basically, you set yourself apart. I love it.
I have this client, Jane. Her name is Karen, and she is she's the only female home builder in Houston, Texas. And she came to me and she said, Jen, I've got this big problem. I'm in this heavily male-dominated industry in Houston, Texas, and I sell these amazing homes, and she does a lot of remodels, so these beautiful kitchens and, all that. And she says, I'm having a hard time because I'm not separating myself well enough from the male-dominated competition that I've got in my market. And even though her work was better, she wasn't getting the clients that she deserved because her marketing wasn't positioning her as the go-to expert.
Mm-hmm.
So I created a magazine funnel and a wow box and everything for Karen. And within the first 2 weeks of us launching her magazine funnel and her wow box, she landed a $400,000 project in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Just because her marketing was so impressive. Somebody went on her website and they saw the magazine, they downloaded it, they got the drip campaign, they scheduled a consult with her. She shows up because she does her own sales. She shows up at the client's home, of course, a beautiful home that needs a renovation on a kitchen or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got her wow box with a printed magazine and all this stuff on the inside. And the person was like, wow, this is impressive. Think about that, because that's not the experience that her male counterparts are doing.
Yes.
They've got a website that probably says something like about us on the top of it. We've been in business since 1955, blah, blah, blah. Boring, who cares, calls for a consultation. They're not taking the time to send a magazine that's beautiful. They're not taking the time to bring a wow box. They're not taking the time to do any of those things. And so she automatically shoots to the top of the vendor list because she's going that extra mile.
Right. I love it. I mean, I think the whole concept, and that really not only it builds a successful customer base,
Right.
and then referrals as well. And, you know, when people are talking about you, oh my gosh, that's like, yeah, because you set yourself apart. I think that is some of the best marketing advice ever. Thank you so much for sharing.
I have a roofer here in Colorado Springs who's my client. It's a family-owned business for 60 years, and the daughter runs the business. And one of the cool marketing things that we did for her was we created a cartoon character called Roof Lady. And we're building her YouTube channel. So we've got this cartoon character called Roof Lady. She's got a superhero cape on and all this like really cool, like, you know, interesting, wow, like who does that? Roofers don't do that. She gets up on top of a roof with her red Roof Lady cape and she records her YouTube videos. And on her marketing, we've, you know, got the Roof Lady cartoon character, and it's just really fun and exciting. And her clients are like, wow, that's so fun. And just like, you know, it's a roof. Roofs are usually not that sexy or entertaining, but we're making it fun. We're making it entertaining. And then, you know, from there, making it memorable. And then from there, I've even gone so far, I ordered her a custom mug with her Roof Lady cartoon character on it. And I sent it to her. Thank you. Just, you know, she's been with me for months, but you know, it's like, you got to have fun with your marketing. Don't be afraid to be a little bit outrageous. Do the exact opposite of what your competition is doing, and make sure that you're matching it to the way that your people want to buy from you and that you really understand what makes them tick.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's the best advice ever. I have to say, thank you so much.
Thanks.
I'm ready to start sending out boxes now. Oh my gosh. So I'm curious now on your site, and I'm not sure if we've gone over this, but you have on your site, one of the qualifications is a certified virtual presenter. Yeah. And that sounds like something that we could all use these days. So what does that entail, actually?
I'm a professional speaker,
okay,
and one of my revenue streams.
Right.
And I'm also a business coach and a marketing consultant, but I'm also a professional speaker. And of course, with COVID-19, the professional speaking industry kind of took a tank short term because conferences got canceled.
Right.
So we really had to change our model and change the way that we deliver. And a lot of us professional speakers have been able to successfully deliver the same valuable content that we deliver in person on camera, on Zoom calls like we're doing right now, or you know, doing a keynote. This isn't a keynote, this is just a podcast interview, but doing a keynote presentation as a webinar that's really entertaining and engaging and has client interaction.
I had no idea.
Yeah. And so one of the organizations that I'm in, I'm actually the marketing director for the National Speakers Association in the Colorado chapter. But one of the benefits that I have of being a member of the National Speakers Association is that I also have a platform called eSpeakers, which is a website. It's a company that has this really great website that helps me get booked. It helps event planners find me. It helps, you know, meeting organizers that are looking for a speaker like me on the topic of marketing. It's like an index, you know, like a Rolodex, an online of speakers. And eSpeakers created a virtual speaker certification to make sure that meeting planners could rest assured that the speaker that they were hiring to do their virtual conference was going to be able to deliver.
Wow.
So that's what that virtual certification is about.
Okay, that's really cool. I didn't even know that existed, but I mean, it makes total sense and even more sense today than it did before. So
They created it just because of
yeah,
COVID-19.
yeah.
Yeah, and the speaking industry being turned upside down.
I know but it's creating all kinds of new and exciting things too, if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
So you have so much on the go. I was interested, what motivates you?
What motivates me is freedom.
Mm,
It's, I was talking about that glass ceiling at the beginning of the top of the show.
yeah.
Is being able to work where I want, when I want, with who I want, and at the price that I want. That's what motivates me. And one of my dreams over the last 16 years when I started this entrepreneurial journey was to be able to move to beautiful Denver, Colorado,
Mm,
and to have a home-based business that didn't have business partners and employees on 2 coasts and an office that I had to go to, but that was very, very lucrative, but it was also a lifestyle business that could give me the freedom that I wanted. And I've been able to do that successfully. A year ago, my husband and I finally fulfilled the Denver, Colorado part, and we were able to move out into the city in Denver. So that's what motivates me is freedom and freedom of choice,
mm.
and being an entrepreneur. I'm a big proponent of the free enterprise system and of the true American dream of being able to call your own shots.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that truly is, and it's happening more and more every day. And women seem to be leading that charge. And speaking of women, you have a women's leadership platform.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you was it because of that conference that you saw that need for that? And tell us a little bit about that in your life.
So as a speaker, I was primarily getting asked to speak at women's business conferences for entrepreneurs at the beginning, doing a lot of chamber events and corporate leadership events. And they would have me come in and speak as a marketing expert. But then they would also, at the same time, especially with companies, corporations nowadays have a lot of, there is some training budget generally for diversity initiatives, in particular for women in leadership. There are more men named John than there are women in the, Fortune 500 CEO positions.
Oh.
So we are way behind.
Wow.
Women are way behind when it comes to, being in the C-suite and in a Fortune 500 company. So companies would pay me to come in and talk about marketing, or organizations, and they would say, but could you also talk about women in leadership? And so I started to create a program, a speaking program and a training program for companies in particular that are serious about diversity initiatives in their organization, and in particular women in leadership.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, because if you're an entrepreneur, in a sense, you really are a leader, because you can be an individual who leads other women, not just from your background, but of course, and then you're talking corporate. So that's, we need all that motivation and inspiration, definitely in the C-suite area and the boards and all the corporations that are out there. So what I said to someone was that, well, we'll just build all the new companies and put the other guys out of business. Not that we want to, but whatever. It seems to be a trend right now. But other than your own campaigns, and you did mention Domino's, can you name a couple of other of your favorite marketing campaigns that are out there?
I like Geico. I think they're 15 minutes, say $15,000 or more in 15 minutes or less. Again, it's the same market dominating position concept. I love how they're not afraid to be, they've got the cute gecko and he gets attention, right? It's insurance. It's not that fun, but you've got to figure out how to make it interesting, how to make it entertaining, and how to make it fun.
So is that part of your attraction marketing then? Is that what
it is for my clients? Yeah, I help them figure out, how do we do that? What's the process? What do we need to do to be able to deliver on that? So like my roofer, they can't do things faster or cheaper. That's not one of their things, but they can do things better. And one of the big battles that they face in the roofing industry is ethics. There are some roofers that are not very ethical, and they either are not insured, or they're kind of fly by night. They'll come in and sweep up some business and then leave town a couple of weeks later or whatever. And the roofing industry is known to have some unscrupulous individuals in it. So we created for them, for my client Lionro, we created the the roofers code of ethics and standards by which roofers should live. And so they claim that space as the authority, as we're the ones that set the standard and the tone for ethics in the roofing industry. Nobody had to give us permission to do it. We just did it, right? And so that's what they market is this ethics and the code of conduct. And they, you know, kind of like point fingers at roofers that aren't following the same high level of standard. So yes, the positioning is part of attraction marketing, you know, along with all the other stuff that I said.
Right. Wow. There's so many elements. It's like a puzzle, but I love that your mind just works like that. It's incredible. And speaking of marketing, branding was the one thing that I wanted to touch on, because personal branding, especially now with so many entrepreneurs out there, what can you share with us a few steps of building a killer brand identity?
So number one is always do the homework that I mentioned, understand what problem you solve and who you solve it for, and start with that first. So personal branding isn't about you. Personal branding isn't about me. Personal branding isn't about color schemes. It's not about palettes. It's not about professional photos. Those things come later and are an expression of the big promise that you deliver on. So what is the big promise that you deliver on? Make it tangible. So, you know, what is the big promise? That's what it's called, like, be someone. You have to be someone that can do something for somebody, right? Like, what's the big idea? Don't make it just about fancy photo shoots and cute websites. Like, what is to be someone that can really do something? The other thing that I would say is make it tangible.
Okay.
Make it measurable. What is Geico's 15 minutes, Domino's 30 minutes, my 100K in 45 minutes. Those are tangible promises that I can build my entire brand on. So because I can do it, because I can deliver on that promise, my clients started calling me the queen of monetization, right? The mother of the magazine funnel. Like, they started calling me those things. I didn't make them up with a personal branding expert. They were a natural progression of me being able to deliver on a promise that was tangible.
Right. Yeah.
And then the final thing that I would say, those are the first two things. The final thing that I would say is be everywhere, omnipresent marketing on the channels and in the sales process that meets your people where they are. But it's not enough just to have one thing going, like, you know, oh, I'm posting on my Facebook page or I'm posting on LinkedIn. You kind of need to be everywhere nowadays. Show up with some good content, show up with some information that is going to help people move along the buyer's journey, and don't make it about you. And if you are going to make it about you, like, you should always, I hope that you've noticed how I've told a couple key stories about myself in this interview. So you do need to have your key stories that you share every time you speak. Figure out how to weave them into the conversation so that people will get to know you and relate to you in a way that matters to them. So I'm sharing my stories of leaving entrepreneurship and becoming an entrepreneur, or once I became an entrepreneur, I made a bunch of mistakes. Then I got sick and I lost it all and I had to rebuild it. Those are stories that I tell with intention almost every time I speak, if I get the opportunity to do it, because they make me relatable to people. They make me memorable versus just giving a bunch of content, and people can relate and say, you know what, I've quit something and went to something else, or I had a really rock bottom moment in my life as well. And if she's able to do it, I can do it. If I can do this stuff, anybody can. That's the thought process that I'm using as I'm building my personal brand.
Right. You're using rapport and connection, like relationship connection, because yes, I could see that. You people will relate to some of the issues that you've had, and they say, oh, like you said, I felt that way too. So yeah, I understand that. That makes a lot of sense. So you have on your site, you have a free offer, and I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's very generous. So maybe just give a little highlights of what's in that offer, because I encourage everyone to go over to your site and check out that offer.
Right. So you can get the offer. I have two websites. I have my speaker website, which is at jendevore.rocks. And that website is set up primarily for larger organizations that are looking for a speaker or looking for a consultant to come in. but the offer is still the same. My call to action is always the same. So on my landing page for business owners is at jendevore.com, jendevore.com. And my offer is me delivering on my promise to find any business owner $100,000 in hidden revenue potential, and I can do it in 45 minutes, guaranteed. And on my website, there's a red button that says show me the money. And if you click on from jendevore.com, if you click on the red show me the money button, it will take you to my calendar where you can apply for one of the calls. If I get your application and I think that you're not ready for me, or I don't think that I'm going to be the person that can help you the most, like if you sell products on an e-commerce website, not a great fit for me because that's not my area. But if you are a service-based professional, then you probably would be a good fit for me to help you uncover that revenue. And that's the offer.
Right. Well, thank you. Yes, I think it's very generous. So everyone check it out on her site, and just tell us maybe one thing that's not on your resume.
One thing that's not on my resume, one thing that people find interesting about me is that I did not move to the United States until I was 9.
Oh, where are you from?
Well, my dad was in the military when I was growing up, and I was born in England.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you have a dual citizenship?
I used to, and then I had to pick, and I mean, I was an American always at heart. My parents are American. My dad was just there because he was a military serviceman. And we moved to, so after that we moved to Germany, and I really didn't move to the States until I was 9 years old.
Wow.
So my childhood memories are very different than most of my friends. Yeah.
I bet. Boy, that must have been interesting. Do you still have friends there or go back?
Nope.
Yeah, you're really young. I'm sure.
Really young. And it was before the internet, or, really. So it was like hard. It was just way harder to keep in contact with people. But I have so many wonderful, fond memories, especially of Germany, because I was old enough to remember it. And Kinder eggs so they have Kinder eggs in American stores now. They're not real Kinder eggs. Like they're the fake Americanized version of Kinder eggs. But Kinder eggs are like my childhood candy. That is like one of my fondest childhood memories that I think about. Oh,
how cool is that?
Kind of
wow.
Fact about me that not many people know.
So do you ever go back to visit?
My husband and I we go overseas as often as we can. We actually got married in Paris. That's another thing that people think is interesting about me.
Wow.
Yeah, I really love Europe. I really love traveling. And I think it's just because I grew up as a military brat. I don't have a hometown at all.
Right.
Probably, I think I counted it up one time. I think I had moved 9 times before I was an adult.
Yeah.
So picking up and moving is really easy for me. I can acclimate in a lot of different cultures and a lot of different countries with a lot of different, very easily. It's really fun for me, actually.
That's a gift, really, because change doesn't, at least that kind of change doesn't scare you, which is a gift, because a lot of people they stay in the same. I'm originally from Toronto. Now we live now here in the United States, but in Canada, there's really 2 centers. It's Ontario, and then there's British Columbia and Quebec as well. But people don't move around as they do here because there's not the huge centers of commerce, and it's a vast piece of Canada's vast, but it's not populated like the U.S. So people usually don't. Like my sisters live in the same neighborhood or around the same neighborhood where we grew up. It's a lot like that back east too. Yeah, I know.
My husband and I are nomads. I told him yesterday, I said, the nomad life isn't always easy. It gets a little bit lonely sometimes, especially like right now during COVID-19. I've had moments where I've been very sad about not being around my family who pretty much all lives in Florida. So I'm just like, I get a little bit sad sometimes. I get a little bit lonely, but I call it the nomad life. And that's just what we do. We're travelers.
Yeah. You move around. Well, I have 4 final questions, which I'm hoping will be fun, but I'm finding they're very challenging for some people for whatever reason, because I'm all about imagination and creativity. The first one is, if your life were an epic story, what would the title be?
Oh, I already know the answer to this question. It's called Good on Paper. It's actually one of the stories that I tell in my presentations.
Oh, okay.
I feel like, when I was growing up with a military father, my dad's great, but he had really high expectations of me. And because I grew up around the military culture. Like everything is in line, and there's an expectation for performance and an expectation for excellence. And so I've been successful because of that, but I've also been successful in spite of it, right? So, and then eventually I had to give up being good on paper and doing the things that everybody expected of me, like going to grad school and getting the job at Kennedy Space Center. When I decided to quit that and walk away from it and start my own path and be a nomad and be an entrepreneur with a laptop lifestyle business, that was a big disconnect from who I was at the beginning of my life. So it would be called good on paper.
Good on paper? Oh, okay.
Living up good on paper.
Good on paper. I like it. So what name would you give your character in your epic story?
Oh, I mean, it would just be me. It'd be, me. But, I've always, like, on our Netflix channel, I don't know if you have Netflix at your house, you can actually, whoever the channel, like the subscriber is, so there's me, my husband, and my 2 stepkids, we each have our own channel on Netflix. And I associated a cartoon character or a TV show character to everybody's name.
Okay.
That kind of reflects them. And mine is an astronaut because, I'm kind of a space geek. I'm a big space nerd still, even though I don't work for NASA anymore. But I kind of always picture myself, I think because I'm nomadic and an explorer, and that's what astronauts are. Maybe my character would be something related to, space travel.
Yeah, I love it. Or Jen the astronaut.
Yeah.
Why not?
One of my friends, Brad, he always jokes around with me all the time. He's another speaker and a TED Talk coach, but he's always making fun of me about being an astronaut. It's like our inside joke.
I love it. It makes total sense.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then how would you characterize your epic life?
That it is an exploration and a journey that has no end, right? I mean, that's how I live. I mean, it really is. And, I wish I could settle myself more, but I'm always looking for the next frontier. I'm always looking for the next adventure, the next challenge, the next thing to tackle on. Sometimes I wish I wasn't like that. I wish I could be happy with the status quo, but there's always something in me that yearning for, what's the next thing that's around the corner?
Yeah, but that's what makes you so unique, though, is because, that's creativity, that's imagination, it's curiosity.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's an asset. Believe me, it's an asset.
It just gets tiring sometimes, Jane.
Well, yeah, it could. Yeah, it could.
Sometimes I have to remind myself to be okay with being in the moment and being okay with this is the present, and it's enough, and you're enough right here. You don't have to produce more. You don't have to go more. You don't have to just enjoy what you've got. It's like a constant reminder that I have to give myself.
Right. Well, in that case, yeah. I mean, I could see where that could drive you a little crazy for sure. You just want do you do yoga at all? Is that why
I used to do yoga for 10 years, and then I switched over to Pure Barre about 2 years.
I read that.
Yeah, so I'm a big Pure Barre fan.
Oh, that's good, because that'll study. Because I'm also a yoga instructor as well, besides everything else. So I was just like, well, yoga will help you settle. So one last question: If you had one epic superpower, what would it be and why?
An epic superpower would be traveling from point A to point B in a really short period of time. Like if I could just snap my fingers and I was in Paris for dinner tonight at an outdoor cafe with my husband, that would be amazing for me. Like that would be my superpower.
And sure. I don't need to ask why, because you just said so. You like change, you like curiosity, you just want to be at different places at different times.
Right.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience at this point? I will have all your links and your information underneath your bio. Do you just want to tell our audience where they can find you briefly?
Yeah, the best place I think is to subscribe to my new YouTube channel. It's where I can provide the most value to everyone at this point. I just launched it a couple months ago, but it's taking off. It's doing really well. And I provide all my best ideas for free on my YouTube channel. I really do. I don't hold anything back. I hope you can tell from this episode. I give away all my secrets for free. So there's lots of hot videos on wealth attraction. I cover who you need to be personally, like personal development, what you need to do from business development standpoint so that you can have the life and the business that you really want.
And what is your YouTube channel, your name?
It's my name. Yeah, I've got the URL with my name on it. So you can
Okay.
go to youtube.com/Jen DeVore Richter.
All right. And we'll have that link there, but I'm glad you mentioned that, because that personally wouldn't have been one of the first places I go, but I'm so happy you've started it and it's doing really well.
Yeah.
And I will definitely check it out.
Okay.
So I want to thank you, Jen, for coming on the show and sharing your incredible insight, knowledge, and inspiration with us about the power of marketing and monetization. I mean, you have just wowed. I mean, one thing I did want to ask you very briefly is the overwhelm, because there's so much to do. Like you said, be on all the platforms and do you just say, take a breath and do what you can, but then of course your personality is such that's how it goes, right?
I don't work nights and weekends anymore. I used to, and I burnt out. I don't do that. So I get as much as I possibly can. I'm a high performer.
Yep.
I'm very productive, and I use time blocking to help me get a whole lot done. And I'm very focused though on where my people are, what my message is, and what my sales process is as well. Okay. So I know that if I speak, if I do webinars, if I do podcasts, if I speak on stages, and if I produce my magazine, those are the big dominoes that is going to make everything else happen in my business. So I try to stay focused in my zone of genius up there with content creation and sharing my ideas. And then I've got systems and processes and people that help me with the implementation of the rest.
Okay, wonderful. So now Jen and I would love to hear from you. So go on over to my Facebook page and write a comment. Tell us what your epic takeaway was, or several takeaways from this conversation. And remember, this is where you imagine, create, and build a life and business doing what you love. Until next time, this is the Epic Vision Zone.